Right to be Read podcast, episode number 23, interview with Archangel.
You are listening to the Right to be Read podcast, and this is your host, Ani Alexander.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Right to be Read podcast, the podcast that inspires and encourages writers. I'm your host, Ani Alexander, and today's interview was a result of some research I made for my listeners. So if you are a Right to be Read podcast listener, most probably, and if you're not, you're one of those lucky ones, but most probably you are from those who have a full-time job, and you are from those who write during their free time. And you most probably write in the evenings after work or in the early mornings, and the little free time you have left, you divide among writing, getting some rest, spending some time with your family, and as a result you don't really have enough time to dedicate to learning different tips and tricks of self-publishing, as well as spending too much time on book marketing, which is a crucial component for your book's success. Parallel to that, the most possible solution you would think of would be just handing over your draft manuscript to someone and just letting them deal with all the other things and leave you with the opportunity of just writing. Well, that's really nice, but usually those companies are pretty expensive, and we know that aspiring writers are not the richest people, well, at least yet. So I tried to find an affordable solution for you, and here is what I came up with. I found Archangel Inc. Archangel Inc. is a full-service gas station for self-publishing success. It was created by authors and it was created for authors. So it's there to help authors with innovative fusion of the traditional publishing model with the ease, speed, and adaptability of self-publishing. So to make things clear, so there's no confusion, I would like to mention that I have absolutely no affiliation links with Archangel Inc. So if you like the service and you would like to become their client, I won't be getting any commission. And I'm not doing this to advertise them. I'm doing this rather to show you of affordable options that may help you solve the issue I described. Today, my guest is Archangel, the co-founder of Archangel Inc., and we will be discussing what they provide for authors and how much it will cost us. Today I'm talking with Rob, and I'm really happy to welcome him to my show. Hello, Rob. How are you?
Hello, Annie. Thank you for having me. I'm doing well.
Thank you for coming. I know that everyone is so busy these days that, I really appreciate spending the time to talk with our listeners.
Absolutely.
Maybe you can tell how you are related to self-publishing, so we can start from there.
Sure. Well, I am one of the co-founders of Archangel Inc., which is we're sort of a cross between indie publishing and traditional publishing, and really we help authors with the self-publishing process. Today, there are opportunities that haven't really existed before in history for writers who are looking to connect with an audience and share their message. And the availability of digital publishing options out there really makes it possible for just about anybody to share their story. And so as Archangel Inc., we help them with all of the other aspects of publishing that are not just the writing. Our goal is for a writer to be able to focus on what they love, what they really enjoy doing, and not have to worry about developing a comprehensive skill set to do all of the other things right to give themselves the best chance of success. So, for example, if you wanted to be an independent, self-published author, not only do you have to make sure that your book is quality, that you have really good writing, and that you have a message that's going to resonate with an audience, but you have to worry about graphic design, creating a compelling image, writing good sales copy so that people who are looking for what you have to share are able to find you. You have to work on the distribution or the marketing end of it and help to ensure that your book stands out in some way compared to, the many thousands or millions of other books that are being published out there. There are all these other aspects of self-publishing that you may or may not know if you're a good writer and may or may not want to study and take the time to learn. So what we like to do is step in and professionalize the production and allow you to focus as a self-published author on your story, on what you want to share.
Okay, great. Well, apparently, for those who don't know, there are several options. One can, just spend a lot of time and learn everything by himself. But also there is an option of having someone who will support and who will provide all these services to you, so you can concentrate on the writing specifically, and you don't waste too much time on the many other things that need to be done after you've written a book. So can you maybe in just several small points show the stages of the things that, once someone has written a book, so he has his manuscript, most probably not edited yet. So he's at that stage, he has the text. What does he need to do next?
Yeah, well, the first thing, like you mentioned, is editing it. It's always useful to have a second set of eyes on a manuscript. When we are very close to the production of it, it's easy for us to see what we want it to be and not necessarily what's down there. So editing can take the form of, fairly light proofreading and just ensuring that there are no, misspelled words or commas that are out of place or that sort of thing. Or it can involve a more comprehensive edit that would help you really convey your message more effectively and more aggressively alter the text so that the story is as compelling as possible. After you edit, then what we do is we begin formatting. So we professionalize the manuscript so that it is going to look good and attractive and be a seamless experience for the end user on an ebook format primarily. Mm-hmm. We also have a formatting for paperback editions. It depends on the particular title, but in many cases it makes sense to create a paperback edition. And so we work on that, and that involves a little bit of different skill set than ebook formatting. We also work on graphic design. So creating a compelling cover image. What is the message that you want to convey through your image? And you want to have something that has some sort of emotional resonance and creates an impression for the reader. And the main thing here, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just sort of has to pass or fail. Readers today are a lot more discerning and are able to sort of sniff out something that looks like it's not professional, not well constructed. And the impression that people have is that if you're not willing to invest in a proper, graphic design for your book, then why would they want to take a risk on your book if you don't believe in it enough to make that investment and learn how to do that properly? Then in many cases, many people won't make that investment and support you. So following that, we write a good sales copy, which is the book description. Mm-hmm. And we want to ensure that, it speaks to people and that we convey that we're helping to address a need of theirs, solve a problem in some way, and get them interested in it. So those are steps 1 and 2, the book cover and the sales copy. And then step 3 on the sales page is getting good reviews. So one of the things that we make a point to do when we create a manuscript is include a call to review, encourage people to share the message. What was their impression of the book? Is there something that they might have liked to have seen differently or something that really worked for them? And those 3 things, if you have it in place, a good cover, a good sales description, and good reviews, offer a lot of credibility to prospective buyers. So that's kind of our approach. We try and get all 3 of those things dialed in so that when a new person finds that book, they're interested in what you have to say and are willing to take a chance. The final step of what we like to do is work on marketing. We have a book platform, a sales platform with not just our own authors, but in fact many other authors. And we offer one-day 99-cent flash sales. It's called Buck Books, and we help compile up to a dozen books on a particular topic that readers might be interested in, and encourage everybody who has a followership to send people out there and cross-promote and allow everybody who might be interested in cookbooks, for example, to see other cookbooks in a particular genre or various other topics that they might look at. The reason that we do that is if you can have a strong launch, if you get a solid number of downloads, Amazon will do a lot of the heavy lifting for you and help put your book out in front of many other readers through the hot new release category or other visitors borrowed or other visitors also read. And once you can establish that you have a saleable book and a book that hopefully has all of those other three things dialed in place, a good cover, a good sales description, and good reviews, then you really increase your chances that you can stand out and continue to see success as the weeks and months go by, and in so doing, help build your audience and establish yourself as a person of authority in your field.
I see. So just to clarify, when you're talking about marketing, so you drive traffic to writers' Amazon sales page?
Yeah, that's right. We have a launch platform, and we invite all of the contributors who also have, in many cases, a followership. Maybe they have an email newsletter or they have an active blog or website, and we send them over to this page, and they help cross-promote each other, writing in the same genre.
So, which means that the authors still can be in the KDB Select exclusive terms with Amazon, because it's okay. That's why I was just going to ask you whether you use Amazon as a sales channel or your own sales platform. Okay,
yeah,
clear.
Absolutely,
clear.
It's all Amazon.
Clear. Well, I know specifically many writers who are waiting for years to get traditional publishing contract. And although they get different refusals, although it takes a very long time to get any kind of feedback, although some of them even haven't approached publishers because they are still looking for literary agents, they still believe that that's the best way, because they think that self-published authors are not credible enough, or there is this stereotype of being traditionally published having more better image or something like that. And I always argue with those authors, potential authors, because they never end up having the book out there, so they don't really have a real readers at that stage. So I'm sure that the times are changing a lot. Do you have any arguments to convince those people that, it's senseless just to sit there and waste so many years waiting for the opportunity to have readers read their book?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I think that there's certainly an appeal. There's a prestige to the traditional publishing model. And for a small number of authors who are able to really strike it big, the J.K. Rowlings of the world, traditional publishing makes a lot of sense. You can be wildly successful. For the vast majority of people out there who are writing a book, it is an incredibly difficult field to penetrate, and you're far more likely to make at least an ancillary income, a little bit of money, selling your words to people who are interested in what you have to say through self-publishing than through a traditional publishing house. Because of the way that the traditional publishing model works, one, there's a really long delay between when you actually complete your manuscript and when it's available for sale. And unless you are very fortunate, you probably won't get a substantial advance, certainly not an advance that you're likely to be able to live off of. And so the income that you're going to make and the livelihood that you're able to generate is going to be somewhat limited. The reality is that for a traditionally published, or rather a self-published author, if you're selling a book on Amazon yourself and you're pricing it in the range that Amazon likes to price ebooks, between $2.99 and $9.99, you're making 70% of the sales price per copy, your royalty share is 70%. And you compare that to a traditional publishing house in the 10 to 20% range. It's really, really quite dramatic. As a point of comparison, my business partner, Matt, has published both independently and through traditional publishing houses. And one of his books retails for around $20 or $25. It's a very attractive book, but as an author, he makes a couple of dollars per sale of that book. In comparison, if he prices a book at $2.99 on Amazon rather than $20, he'll make that same couple of dollars. And so the economics of Amazon, self-publishing and digital distribution are much more favorable to aspiring authors who want to earn a livelihood out of their craft.
Yeah, well, one of the counter-arguments was that if you don't have an audience, at least the traditional publisher would do the marketing for you. But here we have the example that there are companies who provide this service to self-publishers as well. So, if they need this kind of support, they can get it even if they are self-published as well. So I don't really see the sense of waiting for years. And as to when you're applying to literary agents and publishers, more or less we know what needs to be done. Is there any preparatory stage for someone who wants to self-publish, things that need to be done in advance besides writing and finalizing the text? If they apply to you, for example, at what stage they have to be, what they have to have in order to come to you?
Sure. Well, let me speak to one other point that you made a moment ago about traditional publishing houses. It used to be the case that a traditional publishing house would sort of pound the pavement for an author, for a first-time author, and really drum up interest and do a lot of marketing. Unfortunately, that's not even the case anymore. In many cases, one of the key factors they will look at in determining whether they want to take a chance on your project is what sort of platform you have, what sort of built-in audience you have already, and how much traffic and how much interest you can drum up independent of whatever they do. Their marketing budgets, by and large, are tied up in the big time players, and they're not spending hundreds or thousands of dollars on marketing every title that they put out. So what I think just separates Archangel Inc. and some of what we do from them is that we actually combine some of the best aspects of old school traditional publishing in that we do take an active interest in our books and are able to offer some of that marketing and promotion that in many cases traditional publishing houses don't offer. And we really believe in what we're doing and think that it's going to be a model for other enterprises to come. All of that said, to answer the subsequent question, what would an author have to do sort of in the preparatory stages? I think one of the more important things that people sometimes overlook is the question, what is your goal as an author? Is your goal to earn a livelihood? Is your goal to make an income, make a full-time income, make a part-time income, or no income at all? That will help determine what sort of book that you might want to think about crafting. Successful authors who end up doing well and earning a livelihood will attenuate their choices to the market. If you want to write a story that is going to be your life's work and is just simply an expression of your creativity and something that you want to share with the world, you absolutely can do that. And as a publisher and as a supporter of creativity, I encourage that. That said, there's no guarantee that people will line up with their checkbooks out to support that message. If your goal is to earn an income and to be a successful author, then you might want to think about what people are interested in. Think about a problem or a solution that you have for something, or rather a solution to a problem that many people have, something that they would be looking for, and try and provide value to them. Ultimately, our goal as writers should be to satisfy our audience, particularly if we want to be compensated and in turn be supported by them. So we support their goals and keep an eye out on what we want to write about. And some people, describe that as sort of not having artistic integrity or something. Yeah. But I don't know that that's necessarily the case. I certainly think it's possible to bridge both. Have a voice and a story and a message to share that is authentic to you, and at the same time something that will resonate and help other people, because that is the ultimate arbiter. That's the ultimate decision maker for whether we are successful or not. Do other people benefit from what we're writing, and are they in turn willing to support us through their purchases so that we can continue writing and sharing what we want to do? So I think that is probably the first thing that people should think about if they are conceptualizing a career in independent writing and earning a living doing this.
I see. And what about the audience? Do you think having an audience before starting writing a book is very crucial, or they can build the audience once the book is already there?
Yeah, well, it certainly helps to have a built-in audience already, and you can build an audience over time. One of the major models that a lot of people employ in self-publishing and independent publishing is the sort of write, publish, repeat model, where you're putting out books that are not huge. It's not a huge magnum opus, but shorter books that are topical, that are focused, and that you're publishing on a regular basis. One of probably the biggest marketing tools for an author, for a self-published author, is more books. So more books means more eyes potentially that are going to find you, more opportunities for people to discover your work and in turn support you and end up becoming readers of more than one of your titles. So if you have one single book, then you don't have as many opportunities to reach these new readers, as opposed to if you have a dozen books out there, then you have a dozen different categories that you're listed in, a dozen different sets of keywords that people can find you at, a dozen different topics that, hey, I really like this author and I want to see what else they're doing. So you can certainly build your audience over time. One of the strategies that we employ is to help our authors build an email listserv, and that is a tremendously powerful tool for launching a book and for seeing success. And again, if you can launch a book powerfully, then Amazon will do a lot of the work for you in helping that book continue to sell over time. And one of the things that in many cases we do with these email lists is offer some sort of free gift, a free book, or, an e-course or something, so that people have a reason to sign up for your list. People don't like giving away their email addresses. So if we can provide value to them, it makes that more likely, and we have, I guess that's called, permission marketing. And that's, can be very powerful. So those are two of the things that we can do if you don't have a list or an audience beforehand. If you do, through perhaps a big social media following or a blog or a website or any other medium, then your launch can certainly be smoothed out, and it becomes a lot more possible to, if launched correctly, find success earlier and reach new people more effectively.
I see. So since you also provide marketing and strategic consulting, you do, right? You also consult on strategy. So I presume you read the book. It's the customized thing, right?
Correct.
Okay. So I know many indie publishers who left traditional just because they didn't have enough control over different issues connected to their books. So do you discuss different things how is the process of the cooperation between you and the author?
Yeah, that's a good question. In general, yes, it's a very collaborative process. We haven't had too many issues where we have a different strategy in mind than a particular author. I mean, ultimately, our success is tied to their success, and we want to do what's best for the book, give the book a good chance to succeed and again find its audience. There are benefits to being self-published, and in many cases we do try to steer our clients toward a particular graphic design for their cover, for example, or sales copy that we choose, but we're always open to feedback and to insight, and ultimately we want to make sure that the book accurately reflects the both the author and the work that we're dealing with, and so and that they feel good about it. I don't imagine that we'll have a situation where we want to run some possibly offensive ad just to gather a little bit of attention, and that's going to undermine the credibility or the respectability of our author or something like that. Mm-hmm. So it is pretty collaborative, but at the same time, we have learned a lot over the last couple of years of doing this, and have made a lot of rookie mistakes, and so we do our best to bring our insight and our expertise and our experience into how we strategize for going forward, and impart that to the author, because in many cases what an author thinks might work is not necessarily the most effective, and so we try to communicate that as sort of persuasively and sensitively as we can.
Mm-hmm, I see. Well, everything sounds really, really great. But as we know, newbie writers are not very rich people usually. So I'll go to the sad part of the things. Approximately how much money do they have to spend in order to self-publish with you and get all the support you're providing?
Well, it really depends on the project. The model that we have now, we have a 70-30 royalty share agreement, and the author retains 70% of the royalties, and we get 30% in exchange for all of the work that we do, both in the introductory stages and then in ongoing marketing and distribution and all of that. For most projects, for all projects right now, we have a deposit, and that is fully refundable in 6 months, and depends on the scope of the project and what we assess that it's likely to need. But usually between $300 and $500 will serve as that initial deposit, and that really just allows us to not go into further debt and pay all of our team of editors, graphic designers, and so forth to produce the highest quality project that we can. And we anticipate that we will make that investment back within those first 6 months, and then we can refund that deposit to our clients and work for, and then just continue to do our ongoing marketing and distribution work for them without them having to pay a thing. So I think it's a pretty solid offering. And in many cases, our competitors, people who are doing similar things to us, either require non-refundable deposits of, in some cases, one group had, I think it was, $20,000 or $30,000 they were looking for, out of the gate in order to do a lot of the same things that we do. So
Yeah, I mean that's why I said let's get to the sad part, because I've come across many different big figures. When I was just starting, I was being offered different big amounts. Happily, I didn't have, because maybe under this emotional height I would decide to spend those. But actually, I know that after you've learned things and you already know what they are talking about, you end up thinking like, Jesus, this is not really the amounts that it would cost them. So it's really unrealistic. Yeah. So actually, just to clarify, so once you start selling your book on Amazon, if it's between $2.99 to $9.99, you get 70% of the royalty, and from that 70% you're getting the 70% and giving your company 30%, right?
Correct. Yeah, the author gets 70% of that net royalty from Amazon, and we retain 30%.
Okay, so all he has to do is have a sum between $300 and $500, which will be refundable, plus share the royalties with you.
Correct. Yeah, that's the case. There may be some exceptional circumstances where there is extensive work that needs to be done, and there might be a little bit more than that, or in some cases it might be a bit less than that. But in general, that's the range that we've been able to come in on for our deposit. And again, it is refundable after 6 months. So the investment and the risk is pretty minimal, and that's by design. We want to encourage authors to work with us, and we're excited to see people do well and find their audience.
Yeah, it's very fair model, because I mean, if you don't sell books, you don't pay part of the royalty. If you do sell books, then I mean, it's good that you share the success factor together. So you are really interested in the author succeeding in this case.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, so, and the last question about the services you offer, it's for both, right? Fiction and nonfiction.
Yep, that's right. We do have a handful of fiction titles out, and we are certainly interested in getting more into the fiction market. It is somewhat of a different animal in terms of marketing. Fiction tends to work on a different sort of growth curve than nonfiction does. And, in general, people who have studied the industry seem to believe that if the book is really good, that word of mouth will go really far. And I think that's a little bit different than in nonfiction, where there are lots and lots of quality nonfiction books out there, but fewer people are able to find it, because people are more inclined to share a really cool fiction story with other people and say, hey, you should check this out, than a really interesting book on habit development, for example, that they might really enjoy but aren't necessarily going to tell their neighbors about.
I see. Well, maybe because fiction is creating emotional effect, and nonfiction not necessarily. So when you are impressed and inspired by a story, you end up telling it to someone else as well. While nonfiction is a bit more factual thing, which not necessarily you would if someone is not interested in the topic, you might not end up, in everyday conversation talking about those things. So maybe that's the factor as well. Well, everything is clear for now. I just wanted to ask the last thing, which is not specifically related to your company and to what authors might need when they self-publish, but since it's pretty fresh topic and I saw your blog post about this, could you just share with my listeners what is Kindle Unlimited, what kind of possibilities it brings to authors?
Yeah, well, Kindle Unlimited is just launched, and it allows people who are signed up to have essentially unlimited access to hundreds of thousands of books that are sold exclusively through Amazon. And there is a pool of money that those authors who are participating in this exclusive Amazon arrangement have access to, and they get a share of the monthly proceeds for each of the books that someone reads of theirs, that someone borrows and reads at least 10% of. And we'll see how it ends up shaping out for authors, but it does seem like it could be a positive development for independent authors, for people who are willing to publish exclusively through Amazon. Ultimately, I think it is a power play of sorts from Amazon to encourage more people to work through them rather than through other outlets such as Barnes & Noble, Nook Reader, or Kobo, or some of these other publishing companies, traditional publishing companies that may be reluctant to publish exclusively on Amazon. One of the benefits, it seems, is that each book that gets downloaded is counted as a sale in Amazon, and that sales ranking again helps with visibility and helps other people find you and helps allow for more actual paid sales rather than just the portion that you get as a result of being a part of this collected pool. We'll see how it all shapes out ultimately.
And it works only for the US right now?
Is that right? I'm not familiar. I'm not sure about that. I don't recall reading that. May be the case, but I'm not sure.
I've noticed it somewhere because I don't know why, but I had this perception, and because I had a feeling that it was not for me. But, I'll double check and put it in the show notes. Okay, well, thank you very much for coming over and sharing so many valuable things with the potential authors and with the new authors. It was very interesting. I'm sure many might, get in touch with you later on about their projects. Thank you very much.
My pleasure, Annie. Thank you for having me, and all the best to you and with this podcast.
Well, that was it for today. I really hope that the interview was valuable, and thank you very much for listening to it. If you would like to keep me happy and motivated so I can continue providing all these episodes and interviews for you, please just spend less than a minute, hop over to iTunes and leave a review for my podcast. It will really make my day. And if you would like to get in touch with me and other Right to Be Read listeners, please visit our closed Right to Be Read podcast group at www.facebook.com/groups/Right to Be Read, 2 as a number and B as a letter. I'll be waiting for you there. Take care and meet you next time.